You know what I love? I love that you still brought it back to, and that's what we always do, bring it back to self-analysis and accountability, period. I mean, that's what it basically came out to, because the whole thing about the entitlement, yeah, it's cool. Like if you're mad that someone didn't call you back after you guys had some interactions, I mean, if it's some ego shit, that's one thing. But if you're like, hey, listen,
and that is universal.
I really want to know, like, you know, what could I have done differently?
Yeah. Right.
You know, what in your opinion, what was your opinion of me, and or what was your opinion of what I did, or how I got down, or, you know, if it was something like that where it's like no judgment, just let me have it. I'll take that information and be my best self next time. Man, if that was the conversation,
but that's a level of good faith that most people don't operate on.
Good faith.
Why would you really want to know that about yourself unless you're willing to address it?
Because awareness ain't enough.
First of all, you ain't even at awareness yet.
Well, I'm just addressing your question you asked.
Okay, let me give you an answer in what they call it, layman's terms. Do you know, we all can relate to this, when your breath is stinking, your nose is the last one to know. Everybody around you know your breath smell like hot garbage.
I almost spit
your
this
nose is the last one to know,
Yeah,
right?
I almost spit this out.
That's what awareness is. That's how most people operate. They walking around stinking, and they nose don't know it.
So that's awareness, not I saw this shirt, I laid it out, and I'm wearing this.
You stick to hosting. You stick to hosting and wearing little t-shirts. That's what you need to stick to.
You know, so, you know, in our society right now, especially we talk about dating world. Oh, thank you for reminding me that I do date. Appreciate you.
Nah, man, I look forward to seeing the pictures of your date nights.
Yeah,
that's inspiration.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know, we oftentimes, and we talk about this issue of fairness, we know that don't exist for us. Mm-hmm. Fairness does not exist for men, especially black men. And in the dating mating ritual, and just in relation to people, there are toxic behaviors. There are behaviors that run the gamut from, beneficial to not beneficial, to harmful, to traumatic, right? And yet there are some behaviors that are labeled, that's just what it is. And there can be some somewhat excuses for behaviors. Yet on the flip side of that coin, when we talk about men, when it's not even traumatic, it could just be men being men doing man shit, and it comes off abrasive, direct, and principled. It could be labeled toxic masculinity. What say you?
I say that was a great intro. I say that if most people looked at it as just human behavior, then we could have an honest conversation. Mm-hmm. There is things that men do that are toxic. There are things that women do that are toxic. But we don't hear the term toxic femininity. I would love to be able to have that conversation, because that would bring about some accountability. Okay. I read something recently. LA Superior Court, the DNA tests that they did for fathers, a third of the tests were found that the man in question was not the father.
Wow, a third.
This was over like a year period. They looked into a third, and roughly. Is that not toxic? To tell someone that this is your child?
33% of the time.
And people say, this is just people putting on a show on society, but there are entire TV shows built off of this. Is that not a toxic thing? Now, I would be stupid, silly, and asinine to blame all women, right, for the actions of those women.
Right.
But as a man, do I not get blamed for the action of other men that do things that are not things that I do? And it's called what? Toxic masculinity. Mm-hmm. So the few times that I hear about balance, okay, is when I'm calling into question and accountability to my sisters that I care about. We've had other shows. I bang on dudes. I said dudes was failures as fathers. Mm-hmm. I've said it in groups, in public. I ain't never heard no sister stop me and go, hold up, take it easy on the brothers. There's some good brothers, I know. They be like, yeah.
Because we sure don't feel obligated to lay it down for every single brother. I'm not here to argue for the mantle of manhood.
No, we said they can't even hang in our spear.
Yeah.
So there is just by the definition of toxic masculinity. Yes, it exists. And I know I spoke a little bit, I'm gonna hand it over to Ren. But since we're so interested in balance, where's the balance?
I mean, there's an element of toxic masculinity when it comes to things like, the rape culture and the way women are portrayed in a space, in an accusation and things like that, or with a claim of this, and how the woman is put into a box in no space. And it is dealt with from a very male-centered view. That exists. You know what I mean? But when you're speaking in terms of dealing with a man and his emotions and how he expresses it in the space of a relationship, that is a communication issue. And that is a communication issue that has nothing to do with masculinity or manhood. Now, there's an area of manhood where we've spent many a year teaching young boys to not be emotional, and that is something that is not a man, like men putting their thumb on them. That is a societal thing. Men and women putting it and not giving young men of a safe space to express their emotions. We don't turn that and call that toxic in any way, shape, or form. That is a societal malady based on roles, and roles that people perpetuate that are not constructive to building great communication. So how is it this gigantic umbrella? Anything that I do in the space of a relationship that is deemed negative, or that you don't agree with, or that is contradictory to how you envision what your interpretation of manhood is, a woman, how is that all of a sudden now I'm being toxic? And how is that an expression of my masculinity and just not an expression of me as an individual and my emotion and me trying to express what my feelings are in the space of our communication? What's toxic about that? What's masculine about that in any way, shape, or form? Well, other than it's coming from a man.
You said something earlier. There's advantages and disadvantages in situations, right? But I want to pick up on something you said earlier, societal and how we define things. You were a teacher. There's no way that you could have a sexual relationship, not that you would, with a 15 or 16-year-old girl and it become a Lifetime movie. But how many have we seen about female teachers having sexual relationships with male students, and we go, oh, that's just guys, da 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 da. Right? So where's the accountability? Where's the outcry to be like, I don't want to see that mess. From our women saying, no, that's not the proper behavior. Those are your sons that are being taken advantage of. That is a predator. Okay? They showed What Would You Do on ABC. And they still show a situation where a woman is going off on the dude and people just watching.
Right.
Show that dude going off on a woman, people step in. Okay? Now, there have been many studies that have shown that in terms of violence, men and women are equally violent. But because of our physical stature as men, okay, the effectiveness of the violence is different.
The ramifications.
Right? I'm not advocating violence by anybody, but everybody needs to put their hands down. Okay? I was having this conversation with my sister. When a woman raises her hand to hit a man and she hits him, what you banking on is his home training that you wasn't in the house for. It's a relative that you ain't never met that you hoping taught him not to hit you back. Okay, because if he hits you back with his full force, chances are it's on. And here's the thing, I've been hit by women. It hurt. Okay, some of y'all paws are heavy.
Yo, man, I think what stands out to me, basically what you talked about earlier, is around imbalance. It's an imbalance. It's an imbalance when you have a societal issue to where men aren't or don't feel safe to freely emote, and then they pin it up. We pin it up, and then
Suppress it.
we suppress, and then at some point in time, the straw that breaks the camel's back, and then we erupt, and now we get labeled as something. So the whole time where we were trying to show restraint, and we did show restraint, not trying, we showed restraint and swallowed that emotion. Now once and didn't have the outlet to let it go, didn't have some Mac mittens around that can really tell us about ourselves and really be the sounding board to hear and listen. Now we're in trouble. So imbalance, and which it also takes me to the issue of fairness. There's no such thing as fairness to us, right? There's no such thing as fairness to men, and especially black men. I'll reiterate that. So,
there's
here we
that
are.
intersection where there's some intersectionality here that exists, where there is a white patriarchal expectation of what manhood is, and that being exacted upon black men, where how we define ourselves is not by that exact same standard, and that indoctrination exists across the board. There are black men that have adopted that. There are black women that have adopted that. But even culturally, we operate very, very differently. Very differently, and very differently with our emotions.
Do we even know how to define ourselves with our white people?
I just wrote definition right here.
Because just by us using the word toxic masculinity, that wasn't what we created. I know we created hip hop, jazz. I know we did that. When I saw the boom boxes and the breakdance in New York, I was like, oh, that's us.
That's us. Right.
Us as Puerto Ricans was getting down.
Yeah.
But this term, this whole concept,
And it being wielded at us and weaponized against us.
to whoever needs to hear this, black is a separate thing.
Uh-oh.
You are not, I'm a woman first. No. In this get down, black is a separate thing. There were no his and hers cotton fields. There was no his and hers Jim Crow. Oh no, you in the woman's colored section. No, you in the man's colored section. No, we've been in this together.
That's right.
And what we've been convinced is this. I had this conversation, oh my God, today. I told somebody, voter suppression has always been around, but there was a time when black folks voted Republican. and the Dixiecrats were the ones that were exercising voter suppression. Well, now black folks vote Democrat, and it's the Republicans. So it's not the political party, fool. You black, and you can swing an election.
Right.
But you gonna run over to Massa Joe, and my sister Kamala decided she was gonna be black this week, and they for black people, right? No, we gotta be for each other.
Ooh, I love it.
Okay, until we define ourselves by our own terms,
there it is.
we're gonna be fighting as a family, and we're gonna be losing the overall battle.
And we're all using a different standard created by someone else and imposing it upon each other, and it does not fit the space that we're in. It does not fit the time frame that we're in. And so that creates that lack of communication and that lack of understanding of each other. So you start wielding these terms created by this outside space and bringing it in here, and then start painting me with the broad brush that exacts the same kind of punishment on all of us. Me being male does not align me with a white man. It by no means. There's no form of alignment. You know what? You know how I know? Because we're gonna pull out of here at Manhattan Beach, and the police will follow me until I get north
They're gonna
of
let you
Imperial.
But see, and I don't do the pain Olympics. There's certain
100%.
areas of life that are harder on black men. There's other areas of life that are harder on black women.
100%.
But our pain is our pain.
Yes.
It's our people's pain.
Right.
Okay. But you can't tell me a more toxic sentence or sentiment than "I don't need no man." We are the only group of people in this country where the women openly declare disdain and we don't need our men. Tell me the nation that you know that's successful without men.
Yeah, and it's harming our boys because, you know, our mother's generation didn't like seeing grandmama, they mama, you know what I'm saying, give grandpa the big piece of chicken. Or however that dynamic was, there was something about it that our mothers didn't like. So now our mother's going to have our sisters in our generation, and they feed them that. And now we in the third generation where our daughters and their generation, our daughter's generation, their mothers have told them. So we're in the third generation of "I don't need a man." And how has that benefited us as a people, you know, as far as our family structure, and how's that benefit women in particular?
Man, if this was working, I'd shut up. It's not working.
And how could you tell a young man that he's not needed?
Wow.
How are you going to say that to him in front of him?
Wow.
And he's indoctrinated under the sentiment that he's not needed, and then all of a sudden he turns 15, 16 years old, and you expect him to fulfill some needs. You expect him to step into some void that he's not been prepared for at all. And then what do? Like, you know, for whatever reason, you know, mother and father split. You're doing the child handoff back and forth, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Mother with primary custody. All of a sudden, 15 and 16, you take him. And now you want me to indoctrinate him and now instill things in him that would have been what he would have gotten before he had an understanding of it based on repetition. He would have been codified by my action. He would have been codified by watching me act in a space as an assertive, confident man and move as an assertive, confident man before he had the understanding of exactly what I was doing. He would have had the repetition of manhood acts and later on got the synthesis of the why as he was old enough to find the perspective to understand why we were doing it. But when you pull him away from that and you're indoctrinating him with that, you're not needed, you're not needed, you're not needed. And we don't have the time to sit here and then deprogram that. You got to deprogram that just to get back to some balance.
I'm gonna say this slow because this will be misheard and misrepresented.
Mm-hmm. And we are not playing the oppression Olympics.
Exactly. It is my responsibility. It is our responsibility as men to raise men. It has been time tested and proven that the women can't do it. I can raise my daughter to be a fantastic human being, but her mother is in charge of her womanhood.
Bingo.
Now, we are in charge of the manhood. To the ladies that say, well, what if the man that I have a child with is no good? I will tell you this. Parenting is our jobs. But who you decide to have a child with, every child that's brought into this world is the mother's decision. Let me show you how. I get with a woman. She's pregnant. I want us to have a child. She doesn't. What happens?
She doesn't have that child.
Reverse it. I don't want to have one. She does. I'm going to a baby shower.
You getting that reveal?
That part, that's the woman's decision. So if you have a child with somebody that's not equipped, that's a time for self-examination, because it's probably something going on inside that if you don't address it, you will feed that to your child or children. And that's how we get these generational situations. And then because we don't want to deal with it, we put our armor on and we start having banners and slogans that just simply aren't true. I'll give you a toxic number 2. I'm the mama and the daddy.
Oh, you took that out of my mouth.
Batman didn't ever say he was Superman. You can't be 2 superheroes. A lot of times parents are superheroes. You can't be 2. You're not even built for it. Different tools, different skill sets, different everything. We are built to work together and complement each other. Okay? We are the most Christian folks in this country as black folks. Out of our mouths. Out of our mouths. I'm the mama and the daddy goes against the laws of the God you say you serve.
Ooh.
And I believe it was 77% of the black church membership is women. Let's just say 70+%. Because somebody be like, no, it's 74. He was wrong. Because forget the point. Right?
There it is.